Welcome to the Esthetician Coach podcast, where passion meets strategy. I'm your host and esthetician coach, Amber Boone, and each week we're talking strategies, solutions, and mindset to build and attract your best life and career yet. The beauty of aesthetics is that there's so many different avenues that we can go down, and there's so many different things that we can do. And because I get bored easily, so when you get bored in the aesthetics world, you can just flip and do something different, but still be in the aesthetics world.
Absolutely. That is so true, though. So true.
Welcome back to the Esthetician Coach podcast. Today, I have Melissa Solomon. She's a licensed esthetician and owner of the Shed Spa. Melissa, I'm so happy that you have joined me today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is truly a dream come true. I have listened to the Esthetician Coach podcast for a year now, and this is really cool.
Yay! I'm so happy that you come on board, and I followed you since I think we found each other on Instagram, and I've just admired your story and your path. I'm just so excited to talk to you today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So let's dive in. What originally inspired you to become an esthetician? How did you find this career path?
Well, it's a funny story. I had been an administrative assistant for my entire career, and I had found myself in a job that was great by many standards. I was working as a patient services representative for a cancer office in a small town called Maryville, Tennessee. But I found myself very unhappy. The job had not kind of to what it was supposed to be. I'd been there for about a year, and I was very unfulfilled. In fact, most days I was crying because I was terrified. It was a cancer office. I was scheduling cancer treatments, and those things are intimidating. And as an administrative assistant, this was my first experience with medical. I just found myself very unhappy and very unfulfilled. And I had already kind of dipped my toes into the network marketing world back in 2020 with makeup sales. And I was just sitting there one day. I just happened to be working on the check-in side, which normally I'd be on check-out. And I whispered a prayer, and I was like, God, should I, as much as I love makeup, should I do something with this makeup thing for a living? And it was one of those questions that you're kind of half talking to yourself and you're kind of half talking to God. I don't know if anybody else has ever had those kinds of conversations, but that's where I was. And about 15 minutes later, a new patient walked in by the name of Amber Blair. And if you're familiar with being a new patient, you know you have to fill out new patient paperwork. And it basically has your whole life history on it. And she put down the name of her business, or her employment was Center Stage Beauty Academy. And immediately I was like, that caught my eye. And I said, what is Center Stage Beauty Academy? And she said, that's my school. And I said, right here in Maryville? She goes, yeah. She goes, it's just over here on Broadway. And I was like, okay. I said, do y'all do makeup there? And then she's like, yeah. She goes, we do makeup. We do aesthetics, facials, spray tans, lash extensions. And I'm just like, with everything she said, I'm just like, what? And I even said to her, I said, I just prayed about this. I said, this is so weird that you're here in this moment. And I just happened to be working check in instead of check out. I was like, this is just too weird. And so we exchanged numbers, and I went and toured the school, and it just took off from there. I can't even say that I chose aesthetics. After that encounter, I have said aesthetics chose me because I didn't know what aesthetics was. I just knew that I enjoyed makeup. I enjoyed making people feel pretty. And so that's how I landed here.
That's amazing. And it just goes to show that, that's, I feel like, how you know that you're on the right path, when everything just kind of aligns. Not to say that it's always going to be easy, but it aligns for you to make those choices and make those things happen in your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. After that encounter, everything did line up. Like, I had someone offer to pay for my books. I was offered a half scholarship to pay for half of my scholarship. I mean, doors open that I could never have imagined. It was crazy.
That's funny. I mean, it's similar to when I started aesthetics school. They were having a drawing. I went to the Tennessee School of Beauty, but they were having a drawing for a scholarship. And I was like, okay, Lord, if it's meant for me to go on this path, I'm going to win a scholarship. And, they had different prizes, and I think I won like $2,000. But that was my sign that, okay, this is what I need to do. This is where I need to be. It made all the difference and changed my life, just literally the path.
Yes. And for me, it was like God saying, approved, and just go
Right.
with it. And I did. I
Right.
never slowed down.
That's amazing. So, how long have you been an esthetician now?
So I only just graduated in September. So yeah, just a couple
That's what I
months.
was thinking.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and you just opened up your new space, right?
I did, the shed spa, yeah. It's in my backyard, and it has just
I
been
love
yeah, it's been just kind of it was up here, and it just slowly transformed to coming into being. It's crazy. I knew in school that when we talked about, "What are you gonna do after school?" I was like, nothing that I was seeing fit where I saw what I wanted. I knew that I could definitely go on to do med spa level stuff. I also knew I could go and rent out a suite or a booth in a bigger spa, and none of those things, I guess, for me, fit the picture of what I wanted to bring to the client. And so I started thinking about the fact that I love the idea of a med spa and the level of care that they bring, but I don't want that clinical vibe. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not poo pooing on a clinical or sterile environment because they're using needles. So let's be fair, we want them to be clean. But I wanted to bring that level, but with a much more chill, cottage core, almost potting shed vibe. And that's when the play on words came to my head, med spa, shed spa. So I thought, you know what? That's perfect. I could have a little she shed in my backyard and call it the shed spa. And told my instructor about it, and she goes, "That's brilliant." And I was like, "So no one else is doing it? No one else has you never heard of that before?" And she goes, "No." And so, of course, I'm Googling it. Has anybody else called their spa the shed spa? And no one here, thankfully. So, yeah, I just ran with it.
Love it. So, when you're getting out of school, though, it's a little bit intimidating, a little bit
Yeah.
scary because you don't know what's next. How did you have that confidence to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing?
Well, I think age plays a big part of it because if I was 20 years younger, I probably wouldn't have had the gumption or the confidence. I think for me, kind of seeing how God opened doors, knowing this is the right path, and knowing what it was in my heart, what I wanted to give the client, I knew that I needed to follow that intuition. I also have the benefit of, we bought our house prior to 2020, so we had some equity built up in our home. I knew that I wasn't going to want to pay 500 to $1,000 a month in rent that I will never get back. I mean, that comes straight off the top of your income. And until you've hit that mark, you're not making anything. And we'll talk about, ingredients and the things you need to make a spa happen. All those things are expenses. And so I knew I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to give that money to someone that I would never see it back. So my thought was I'll play on the fact that I have property. I have a nice big shed in my backyard and just put the work in to renovate it. So we did tap into some of our equity and was able to make that dream come true. In my opinion, I would rather, increase my equity, have a little payment there where I'm pouring still back into my own property than just giving it to a spa owner. And was what worked for me. I would say if I was a young girl starting out like in my 20s and 30s, I probably would rent a booth because that is a great place to build a clientele. It's a great place to get your footing. I think for me as an older person, I'm more comfortable with myself. I'm more comfortable with touch. A lot of the girls, because I do volunteer at school now. Well, I get to work with the girls at school now. And they have a lot of like, I don't know, I don't like the massage. I don't like this. That. I'm past all that, so there's lots of things you can work out working for somebody else or with booth rent and that kind of thing. So I think that age is probably the primary reason why I had the confidence to do it. And I don't mean to say that no one else can do it if they're not my age. Certainly, I think God gives us a measure of faith. And, you may be 20 something and just crazy enough to make it happen. If you are confident in your skills, absolutely, there's no stopping you.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's different for everybody. And, like we were talking before, that's what makes aesthetics so appealing to me is because there's so many different paths that you can go down. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, it's really just up to you and what
Mhm.
you want to do with your aesthetics career.
So true. So true.
What was one of the hardest parts of opening your business?
Well, you're going to laugh, but I've often joked that opening my business checking account was the hardest thing I had to do with opening my business. And I'll tell you why. Because the bank, they handle your money and they got their stuff together. And they're going to make sure that you have your stuff together as well. I will never forget going in to open my business checking account and having a few little items on my phone thinking I've got all I need, and her literally sending me out the door with a folder of things that you needed in order to be able to open that business checking account. It took me probably 2 weeks to compile everything on that list because, they wanted everything. And to be honest with you, I've kind of blocked it out and I couldn't tell you what they are now, but I'm just glad I got it done.
That's
But
so
that was the
true.
hardest part.
Sometimes, yeah, those little things that you wouldn't expect to be
Yeah.
so difficult are the most
Never saw
challenging.
coming. I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna handle my business today." Nope.
I did the same thing, actually. I went to the bank and I was, like, ready, and they were like, "Well, you need this, this, and that." I was like, Okay." I thought it was just sign your name.
Tracking me. Yeah.
What was the easiest part for you?
Probably the easiest would be the belief, because I will say in my whole life, I would have never seen myself mentally pushing myself to do this. And that's what I'll go back to what I said a minute ago. When God gives you a purpose and a plan, he also gives you a measure of faith to do it, to carry it out. And I really and truly believe that it was because of that faith, it made it easy. I never questioned it. It never occurred to me that this was not the plan, that this was not the purpose. And it's the first time I can ever say that in my life. I am the analytical queen. I analyze everything to death. And the fact that it felt like someone took the govern off and I could go all the way to the floor with the pedal and not slow down, told, you know what? This is where I'm supposed to be. I don't feel any hindrance. I don't feel any hesitation. And even if I fall flat on my face, I would rather die having fallen flat on my face than to never try at all. And that was something I've it's really kind of tied to death, honestly. I know this sounds really morbid, but I've lost my mom and my brother. My brother was younger than me to brain cancer. You don't bury your mom and your brother without counting the cost and going, I'm not still here for no reason. You know what I mean? Like something rose up in me and it was like, I'm not going to let this life go by without giving it all that I've got. And I don't know if you've never met that moment in your life, buckle up because when you feel it, you're like taking off. It's like being strapped into a roller coaster. It's like hang on because it just goes. It just happens and doors unlock, things happen. And so yeah, I can't even take credit for it. It was the easiest part of it was believing that it could happen.
Yeah, and I think the older I get as well, we're not really promised the next minute, tomorrow. So, we've got to give it all we've got today and right now,
Absolutely.
and live out our calling or our purpose, whatever that is.
Yes. Amen.
Did you ever doubt yourself anywhere in this journey or, aesthetic school? When you were in school, did you ever have doubts that come up that you were scared or, anything like that?
For sure. We're putting chemicals on people's face. That, I've had some of my dearest friends lay down on the table and let me do things I had no business doing. And so
Thank
when
God for friends.
yes, and you know what they always say? They always say, "Well, I'm just glad it happened to me." And I'm like, "No, it is not okay. It should not." Because and what I mean and what I'm referring to is like if they have a reaction, right? So you put that enzyme on
Yeah.
and they're like, "Can you get this off right now? It's burning." Those moments that you're like, what am I doing here? So yes, I did
So
have doubts.
true.
Yeah. And dermaplane. I mean, dermaplane is part of our certification. And when you read it on a menu, you're taking a surgical blade and you are swiping it up and down someone's face. It's intimidating, but there thankfully are ways we can practice. You could take a kiwi and a dermaplane blade and go to town on it. Stuff like that. Utilize your practice and your school. When we practice on each other in class, that is the best time to mess up because your instructor's there. The other students are like, they ain't mad at you. I mean, obviously, I remember one of the girls in our class, we spray tanned her. She was our model. God love her. We didn't get enough barrier cream on her palms. She came in the next day looking like Donald Trump. I mean, bright orange, and she's trying everything, and we felt so bad. But that's what school is for. Try it out, do it. We're all learning, and other students aren't going to be mad at you if you mess up.
Yeah, the struggles of aesthetics school
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
feel fresh.
So, what would you say to somebody that is maybe in that moment right now and they're struggling and to get past that? What advice could you offer them?
My best advice would be just keep practicing, even if it's baby steps, even if all you can bring yourself to do is one swipe with that blade or one swipe with that chemical peel, whatever it is, don't stop. Build on it. Do the thing. You'll see everything's fine. Nothing exploded. Do it again. It's going to be okay. Just keep practicing. There is no better learning tool than practicing 100%. And if you're lucky enough, like I was, when you put yourself out there, you'll be surprised how many people respond. I have a tribe or a community of people that just rallied around me and said, I want one, I want one, I want one. And, it was so funny because I joked and I said, I'm going to put this out there and I may get 3 mercy facials. I'd be like, oh Lord, let's go over here and let Melissa put this stuff on our face. No, it wasn't that at all. Like people were blowing me up. I got to the point where I had to block off my scheduling. I was offering it no charge, of course, but in order for me to build my techniques and my craft, I knew it was necessary. I'm old enough to know that practice makes it's not perfect, but progress. So the more I practiced, the better I got. So I would definitely say, even if it's just a baby step, keep practicing.
Okay, yeah, I think that's good advice because, yeah, we all start in the same place. And so you just have to practice and learn your skills and your
Yeah,
crafts and keep moving.
the only way.
So, I know, yes. So, what's something you think new estheticians need to hear before they jump into entrepreneurship? And we talked on that a little bit already, but what's
Yeah, yeah.
I guess, good words of wisdom that you could give them?
Think for me, the way that I approached it was I pictured how I wanted my ideal client to feel, and then I reverse engineered the experience. So basically, if you're young and hey, I'm in a very big learning phase, I'm just going to need to perfect my technique, then somebody like that probably is going to do better in a spa that's employed and actually gets an hourly wage just until you get your bearings. But if you think, you know what, I want to provide a very unique experience that I'm not seeing out there. I want to hit a part of the market that no one else is hitting, then you're going to want to work hard toward entrepreneurship. And the best advice I could give for that is to get educated, take some business classes, because I think for me, I learned a lot in the many years as administrative assistant. I mean, I worked for everybody from a medical equipment company to a contractor. I worked for a timeshare company. I had a lot of different types of businesses running through my veins anyway. So I kind of had an understanding of how it worked. And even still, I'm learning. I think the best thing you can do is take some business classes, even if they're little certifications that you get at online colleges. It's a great way just to get your feet wet, understand what you're getting into, and then build that experience for your client, because there is nothing more important in this industry than your client. That is the number one thing. You might say, you know what, I work for myself. No, you don't. You, instead of having one boss, all of your client base is your boss. And that's who you report to every day. That's who you have to be on time for. That's how you have to look professional for. So just know that entrepreneurship does not mean you're your own boss in this industry. It means you have many bosses.
I love that you said that, and you're so right. The customer is your boss. I mean, it's not like
Yeah,
you still have to show up, you still have to give your all.
absolutely.
You're still reporting to somebody. It's just in a different light.
Yes, absolutely. And you're paying your own
But
taxes. So think about
right.
that.
And I love that you said that about business because I think that is one of the more challenging pieces for any entrepreneur or new business owner because we know the skin, we know the skills that we have, we know what we want to offer, what we want to do. But then we have to be able to sell and to market ourselves
Yeah.
and to wrap our head around that business side, which, like you said, the taxes, opening
Yeah.
a checking account. How did you choose your vibe, your branding, your service menu for the Shed Spa?
Yeah, just going back to knowing that I wanted that med spa level of care, but I wanted to make it very cozy, very, you can roll up here with your hair rollers and your slippers on, no judgment. You're going to fit right in. It's going to feel warm, cozy, and almost like when I think of it, I wanted it to look like someone's potting shed. There might be a little dirt on the floor because we've just transplanted the herbs from a small pot to a big pot, but it's still clean. Don't get me wrong. Everything's still sanitized. I got my barbicide wipes over here next to me, my alcohol bottle. Everything's still sanitary. In my mind, my ideal client is maybe a mom who probably walked out of the house of a mess and said, you know what? I just need to get away. I just need to unwind. And she's not going to feel like she's got to put it all on. She's got to get dressed to the nines. She can roll in here in her sweats and her hair in her messy bun and just flop on the table. Let me do her lashes. Let me make her feel relaxed for a little while. So again, taking what I knew I wanted my client to feel and reverse engineering that. I knew it would look almost kind of messy by design. And so that's just kind of how I've built it. But again, that service menu is also leaning hard into how do I want my client to feel, right? So I'm actually working on the Caribbean cruise facial right now because so many of my friends hate winter. They absolutely loathe and detest it. They can't wait for spring. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to bump my heat up to 75 degrees. I'm going to turn on my facial steamer. I'm going to get my coconut papaya enzyme. I'm going to get my LED light therapy. I'm going to microdermabrasion like the sand hitting their face. So I built that menu or that service item based on a mindset that I want them to feel on my treatment table. So that's the best advice I could give to somebody trying to build that service menu.
I love that. I love the Caribbean facial. I'm gonna have to come see you for that. That sounds amazing. So what is on your menu right now? What services are you providing?
The original plan was to have one facial and call it the custom relaxation facial because most people don't know what they need. They know what they want to feel and experience, but they don't know what they need. So the initial plan was have them here, do a skin consultation, take a look and see what their needs and goals are, and then build it based on that. So that is the main thing. I've kind of gone a little off and did some different signature facials. I have one called the Bee in the Tree, which is a eucalyptus enzyme with a lemon mask. And then it also gets LED light therapy. So I've got a few little ones that kind of do that. I've got my Gentleman's Glow, which gets some high frequency therapy and LED light therapy with their facial. So I've built a few custom ones like that. Then I've also got my lash extensions. I've got my lash lift and tint, my brow lamination and tint. I've got my henna tint for brows, which I'm absolutely loving that. Like we did it in school, but I only just purchased my henna kit and I've been having so much fun playing with it. And then I also do makeup services. So like for girls that are doing homecoming or, prom, things like that, I can do that. I do spray tans. Gosh, waxing. I do all kinds of waxing. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I've not found any one thing where I just like really wanted to go hard. So I'm still just offering it all. And I'll just let the clients dictate kind of the direction of my service menu. If I'm finding there's something that no one ever purchases, It'll probably fall off eventually. But for now, I thought, you know what? I'll cast a wide net and see what people love.
Yeah, and I think that's what you've gotta do with any business. You gotta kinda figure out what you enjoy doing, but also what your clients respond to and what they want to see more of and what
Definitely.
they want. So,
Yeah.
you mentioned that you started with makeup.
Hmm.
When did you shift over to loving the facials and loving all the other aspects of it? Was that when you started into school and you got a taste of it, or
Yes, yes. Initially, the plan going in for school was to become a wonderful makeup artist, and I would just do that. And I thought, well, all this other stuff will just be fluff. Well, when we got ready to do lash extensions, she goes, you don't have to do this. She's like, this is part of our curriculum here that we like to include. And she goes, if you determine that you hate it, you don't have to have that be part of your certification. She goes, but promise me you'll try it. And so I tried everything and I went into everything with an open mind. And that's what made me love everything. We started doing facials and it never felt weird to me. I wanted to be better. I was always just wanting to do a better job. And so the more I did it and the more people would go, wow, that was great. That was instant gratification for me, where makeup does the same thing. Same thing with lashes. But I can remember the first time I did lashes, I absolutely hated it. I said, yeah, no, this is no. And I was throwing stuff. I was like, absolutely not. This is terrible. And the more I did it, the more I got the right tools. And I will say that was the biggest thing for me, having the proper eyewear, the proper lighting. When you have everything you need, bing, bang, boom, it works beautifully. And if you're somebody like me that's super detail oriented, please don't close the door on things like lashes and go, oh, yeah, that's whatever. Because you may love it. And I do. I absolutely love it. Things like that. It was just getting in there, trying it with an open mind. Again, I did the same thing with waxing. I was like, this is stupid. I ended up loving it. And we went to a field trip with a brow studio and she did Brazilians. And she's like, you don't understand how much money can be made doing Brazilians. She was like, these guys are in and out in 30 minutes. And that's with me taking my time. Why am I closed off to this? So keep an open mind. That's be my biggest advice to anybody.
yeah, I agree. There's so many different opportunities. What do you think keeps your clients coming back?
Touched on this before, knowing that it's my calling, that gave me the confidence to be just naive enough to think that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But I will say, I have heard people say that they really appreciate that before they leave, I ask them if there's anything I can be praying for them about. And they're like, can remember the first girl that was just like so surprised by that. She posted it to her stories and she goes, my esthetician just asked me if she could pray for me. But that's like for me, none of this would have happened without him. And I know that. And I'm fully aware that this is my calling. And so for me to get this far and be like, you know what? See you later, God. I got this. No, he's in it. He is in it in the morning before I have a client even on this table. He's in it while I'm cleaning up at night, inviting God into every aspect of this journey, even in my day to day life, as far as even inviting them, hey, how can I be praying for you? I think that is what keeps people coming back because they can tell I love them and they can tell I really do care about them. Even the people that I don't even know, I will ask, is there any way I can be praying for you? And if if they're visibly upset when they're talking to me, I'll say, can I pray right now? And they've so often said, wow, I really appreciate that. I don't want to discourage anybody to think, oh, wow, well, I don't pray or I don't include God in my business. Well, you don't have to do it as hard as I do. You don't have to go as hard as I do. 48 years old. And I know I'm approaching probably the last third of my life. And the way I feel, what have I got to lose? If you're offended by the fact that I want to pray for you, then that's between you and the Lord. I've done everything I feel like I'm supposed to do. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's probably it. And it's honestly, all I can say is being willing to do whatever I'm supposed to be doing, whatever he's called me to do, I think is the only thing that's got me where I'm at. So that's it.
So finding your path, whatever that path is, helps with client retention, basically. Yeah, I was watching a little bit of your YouTube because you've got a YouTube channel too.
Yeah, I
And I
do.
was watching a little bit of your YouTube channel today before we hopped on, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, this is her ministry.
Yeah,
Not only is it her career, her calling, but this is her ministry. And
100%.
I love that.
Yeah, 100%. And in fact, I've kind of stopped the YouTube episodes. God's dealing with me on how to pick that back up. I think being a person, and it doesn't even have to be an older person, but being a person that sees where you want to be and knowing you're not there, and not letting anything stop you from getting to that place that you want to be. I think everybody can relate to that. So I'm definitely going to start speaking into that person's kind of, battle or struggle to say, what have you got to lose? If you see something that you want, go for it. You got one chance, you got one life. And so I'm working on building that in the background now. It's an undertaking though.
It's a lot. I do YouTube as well, and I can't get out as many videos as I would like just because of the editing and the
Yeah.
production and all of that because it is a lot. And I mean, even my podcasts have suffered a little bit since opening my own business just because you're pulled in so many different directions and you want to do it
Yeah.
all, but sometimes you can't.
True, it's true. But if you're like me, you can feel it like pulling you in a good way if it ever becomes to the point where things are disrupted or your peace is shaken, then that's not it. But when you feel genuinely fulfilled as you're walking these things out, you can feel confident in knowing that that's where you need to be.
For sure, I agree. What are your thoughts? I wanted to pick your brain a little bit on selling retail. Are you currently selling retail right now, or is that something you plan for in the future? Because I know you just recently opened up. So, how's that
Yeah.
affect your business, and how's that helping your business?
Yes, I do. Because companies like SkinScript and Circadia offer drop ship options, I don't keep an inventory. I feel like that would be a lot for me right now, but I do drop ship. So like I have a client that wanted to start a peel series, and so there's a whole like pre-post regimen that you can subscribe them. And so she wanted to go all in. She's like, I want to do it just the way that they recommend. And I said, okay. So we had the products drop shipped to her. And then I had another client who has rosacea, and SkinScript has a specific lineup just for sensitive skin and rosacea. So I got her that. So that's kind of how I'm utilizing retail right now. But I'm also developing little things in the background because I eventually want to even more. But yeah, right now it's just SkinScript and Circadia because I can have it drop shipped directly to the client. I'm not trying to keep inventory.
I understand it's a lot, especially when you're
Yeah.
starting out, to
But it's so
keep up
necessary.
with all of them.
You do need to offer a line because 85% of what they're going to see on their face is what they're doing every day. Having them understand that, the importance of that. I've sent tons of samples home with people and they love it. It's the holidays. Not everybody can afford to go all out in a new skincare regimen. But yeah, it's definitely a necessary type of thing with what we do.
How do you balance being a service provider, a business owner, your content creator, and just living your life? How do you
Oh,
balance all that? Can you give me any tips?
I would say, no, I don't balance it very well. No, I can't complain. I have to say probably, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago or so, I was sitting on my phone from, like, sun up to sundown one Sunday, and I felt the Lord say, "Your Sunday doesn't look any different from every other day of the week." And I felt deeply convicted about that. And I began to research the Sabbath and how we are to set one day aside as holy in His and meant for rest. And so I began to put a big priority on taking a day. I don't completely unplug because I don't believe in letting people float out there in message land for 24 hours, not knowing what's going on. But I don't work in the traditional sense on Sundays. That is the biggest boundary that I've set for myself that I feel like has helped some sense of sanity. Other than that, right now, this business basically runs my life. I don't run it, it runs me, but in every good possible way. There was one day where I had 3 clients and I worked from early in the morning until 7 o'clock at night. And I felt so fulfilled at the end of that day. I did not feel tired. I did not feel run down. I had poured into people, but they in turn had poured back into me. And so I think it's all about that balance, having an understanding support system. My husband has been my biggest cheerleader from day one. From day one, he has said, I trust you. You're going to do something major with this. I already know it. And he's basically the best business partner ever because he never tells me no. He's just like, go for it. I'll be like, should I do this? Do
He's
it.
a smart
Go
man.
for it. Yeah, yes. But it's all about that strong support system and, knowing your own limitations. Obviously, I'm older. I'm not 20 something anymore. So I've learned, okay, I'm not going to schedule 5 clients in a day. I can't do that personally. Now, some people, they can just check it out. But, knowing what I know about me, I've worked very closely with Gloss Genius, where I'm being very intentional about how much time I allot for each service, how much buffer I put between clients. Just knowing my limitations is been the biggest part of helping me keep that correct balance or ish.
Yeah. Yeah. Setting boundaries, that helps
Yes,
for
definitely.
sure. What marketing channels are working for you? How are you getting your first clients as a new business owner? Any tips that you
So
can give us?
yeah, for sure. The best thing for me was as a student seeing clients for free. That gave me a wonderful base. And I used Gloss Genius from day one. So basically, Gloss Genius has a list of everyone who's ever come to me, even as a free model. And so when I send out a text campaign, all those people get it. So that was a great marketing tool for me. I think Gloss Genius, I've had a few hiccups with them, but they have been probably my single biggest tool for bringing in clients. And then also, I'm a gold level, so I do my forms and waivers through them as well. So it all works together. But also, I knew from the beginning that I wanted to be very transparent about my journey on all my socials. For me, that's Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm really good about Facebook and Instagram. TikTok is kind of like the stepchild that I throw a little bit at the end of the day. I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't put anything on TikTok. Facebook and Instagram, those people are the people that I live my life with every day anyway, that have watched this journey play out. And then my last really cool marketing tip is join your local chamber of commerce. I have had a lot of calls and referrals from the Chamber of Commerce from my little town here. Word of mouth is huge. But when you live in a small town, having that back you up is a big deal. They just yesterday shared a one of my posts on the page, and I got several new followers because of it. And then there's one other that I just thought of that you cannot undervalue, and that is locking arms with your local boutiques, even your med spas, and partnering with them on giveaways. There is a I actually went and shopped Small Business Saturday at a local boutique here in our town, and I got to talking to the owner, and she was awesome. And I knew she's huge around here. Everybody loves it. So she actually reached out to me here a couple weeks ago and said, "Hey, I'd love to do a giveaway. Would you like to be in on it?" And so she's organized this huge giveaway. I cannot tell you how many new followers I have because of this giveaway. People that would have never seen my posts are now going to see them because of that giveaway. So those are the things that are working for me the most right now.
Okay. So, how important would you say Instagram and Facebook have been for your business?
Oh, huge. It's involved that element of bringing people on the journey. And like you said, showing them the good, the bad, and the ugly, letting them see when I failed the test, letting them see when I passed the test, letting them see when I'm studying for a test. Like letting them in on the journey has been I think the single most probably, well, it helps them understand. It helps them be involved and invited into the experience. And I think, especially for people that are on the fence of, do I take that midlife leap, or do I do that? Do I walk away from that thing that feels so secure to do the unsure? My story serves as evidence that anybody can do it, And so I think people resonate with that. So having those things, having those channels and keeping the story in front of them has just been so crucial in how far I've come.
So, yeah, having that connection, I think that we all seek with one another.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But it can be time consuming.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if you don't learn to make some like limitations and boundaries, you will find yourself drowning in it for sure.
I'm assuming you post all of your own social media
Yeah.
content and come up with it.
Yes, I do. I could never trust anybody else to do it.
Do you post daily, or do you have a schedule that you follow?
I do. I try in the morning. I usually will spend my quiet time and I will just be like, God, what do I need to put out there into the world today? And sometimes it'll come to me. Sometimes I'll have to go back and regurgitate an old post and just revisit an old service and just kind of remind people. But yeah, I try to do, at least one a day that is kind of featuring a service that I offer. There is a very successful spray tan artist near me, and I've kind of modeled after her a little bit. I don't go as hard as she does. She's a lot younger than me too, but she's constantly reminding her audience of what she offers. And I thought, it's funny because most of us would go, well, they know what I offer. I'm not going to go over that again. But that is how she's become successful. She's constantly reminding them, but she's also constantly adding new followers. So, yes, you have to continually educate your tribe of what you offer. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody laying on the table getting lash extensions going, you do facials? They're blown away. And I'm just like, as much as I post, you still don't know that, but it's such a good thing to know and remember that people need to be made aware of what you're doing. They don't just assume, they don't know. I can promise you that.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think that's part of social media too that I dislike, is because just because we post something doesn't mean that all of our followers are seeing it, because
Right.
it doesn't go out to everybody.
That's so
So
true.
they may not, like you said, they may not have a clue, even though they're coming to you for lashes. They may not have a clue that you do facials
Absolutely.
because they haven't seen your post. So, yes,
Exactly.
I feel like you have to be repetitive and show up and tell people what you are offering and what you do and how you can help them.
Absolutely. I agree.
What's one piece of advice that you would give future estheticians that you wish maybe someone had given you?
Oh, gosh, that's a good one. Probably just the same as with anything. You can't let yourself get in your way. You have to understand that you are your biggest barrier between you and any goal. It's all up here. And believe that you can do it. And the moment that you know and you can visualize yourself in the moment, in the act, doing the thing, then you've licked it. You've literally licked it. Once you get past you, don't worry about those people that talk crap. Like, trust and believe they have thought about you for 2 seconds. You are the only one that's going to have to live with you if you give out or you cop out. You just got to see it through, because at the end of the day, no one's going to push as hard as you for you. So don't give up. Don't let the doubters, listen, I had people look at me and I know they thought, is she crazy? I didn't care because I knew that this was where was meant to be. So it pushed me even harder because I wanted to show people that I could do it. But yeah, get past yourself. Your enemy is not out here. It's right here. Get past that and you got it.
Yes, and I love that you said that. I agree 100%. Mindset is one of the most challenging aspects of running a business, period, to me, because you constantly have to believe in yourself. You constantly have to build yourself up when nobody else is around, or
Yeah,
not, when nobody else you feel is believing in you. You've got to go back to your mindset.
that's
And
so true.
what is next for the Shed Spa?
So next for the Shed Spa is going to be in the spring. We're going to launch a full-on herb garden that will actually feed into the treatment plans. So we want to be able to feature different herbs and dried flowers in the treatment room. We're also going to add a beehive. So we will become an apiary as well. And I only plan to do one, but I want to utilize it in the treatment room and because I do spa snacks as well. So I want to be able to bring that in all the way around. I've got big, big plans. A lot still living up here.
I love that. So what's your favorite herb?
So right now, the study that I'm doing on calendula is fascinating to me. I love what a powerhouse it is. And I also love different herbal teas. And so I'm reading up on like chamomile and stuff like that. It's fascinating the things that the earth provides us.
Agree. I've got herbal teas in my line as well. I love herbal teas. And then calendula is one of my favorite herbs to use in skincare and teas. Like you said, it's a powerhouse. Me and my husband, we kept bees for about 4 or 5 years, and I loved it. It's definitely an adventure. Yeah. And so I'd like to get back into that too. It's so much fun. You'll love it. And getting the honey, it's amazing.
My whole life, my whole child into young adult life, I was terrified of bees. And something in my bees, I just thought, why am I so scared of bees? Then I found out the meaning of the name Melissa is honeybee. So I was like, you know what? I've been afraid of these little things my whole life. Meanwhile, my name means it. I'm going to have to get over this.
And I'm the same way. I was scared, terrified of bees my whole life. And my brother had a really bad reaction to some kind of sting when we were younger. And so I think that definitely played a part. But as I gotten older, I love honeybees, but all the other bees I don't like.
Yeah. Carpenter bees are the bane of my existence. They're destroying my porch. I hate them things.
Yes, they are so bad. We've got those too. How can people find you? How can they get in touch with you online? Give us your Instagram, your Facebook, your YouTube, all of that.
Yeah, for sure. So on YouTube, you'll find me at From the Shed. And then everything else is pretty basic. You can Google the Shed Spa in Seymour, Tennessee, and find me, theshedspa.com. Pretty easy to remember. My links to booking services with me is there. That's kind of the hub where everything lives and kind of grows from there. So theshedspa.com would be the best way.
Hey, and I'll put all the links below in the notes so that people can have easy access to follow you and check out your spa. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for you in the future. It's just exciting.
I'm excited for you too. Gosh, I see everything you're doing and I'm like, girl, you just paving the way, making the path clear for me.
It's like as you know, we talked about it's challenging to wear all the hats and do all the things, but if you're called to do it and that's what you're meant to do, you will find a way.
So rewarding. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Well, thank you so much for being here, Melissa. And I'll have you on again and we can talk about where you're at.
I love it. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do this time next year. We'll see where I'm at.
Yeah, and see what's going on. See if you've got the bees, the herb garden.
Yes, I'll take you on a tour.
Yes, I would love that.